Okay, so this video is to help you learn how to use Excel to analyze a very basic data set. And I'm going to actually use the grip strength data that we have available for Lab 7 and show you how to manipulate the data in Excel, how to get averages very easily, standard deviations, and probably the most important thing, show you how to make a graph in Excel with error bars that represent the standard deviations, so that you can turn in a grip strength lab that's correctly formatted, and also prepare you for turning in your semester investigation lab. So I'm going to share my screen now and go to Excel. Okay, so you should be able to find in the Lab 7 folder this data set already in Excel, and you should be able to open it up with Excel, and it should look like this. If you have your own version of Office, a full version, that's great. It'll actually make things a little bit easier for you because you'll be able to use the error bar functions in a full version. If not, then you need to download the free Office 365 available through the college. And this will allow you to get your averages and your standard deviations, but it will not let you put error bars on your graphs. So I have a free web tool that I'm going to demonstrate at the end of this video to show you how to put your means and standard deviations into a bar graph format. Okay, and I'm just going to do dominant hand versus non-dominant hand as the example. On your actual grip strength report, you need to analyze the effect of hand dominance. So you should be comparing the dominant and non-dominant hand between across men and women. Then we can look at the dominant hand across men versus women, so compare gender. And you can do this with just the dominant hand data here or the non-dominant hand data here when you compare genders. Then you'll want to do ages. And with ages, you're going to carve the data up by age groups or age categories, which you get to decide on, maybe like 19 to 22, 23 to 25, and whatever. I mean, I don't know, however you want to carve it up, but I'll show you how to organize the data to make that easier. So let's get started. Okay, first we have to do, what we're going to do is we're going to do hand dominance. This is going to be the graph we want to make. So this is the analysis we have to do. So I'm going to copy and paste dominant versus non-dominant over here. And I'm going to put the averages here. So I'm going to write the mean there, mean, and then the standard deviation here. Okay, but we have to calculate those. These are the raw values that were measured in the lab, and it's inappropriate to graph these. If you graph these, you're going to get something squirrely looking. So watch, I'll make a graph of this. So if we just go ahead and let's see here, insert graph here, and we choose bar graph, we're going to get this. And this is showing the dominant versus non-dominant hand for each individual in the study, all 23, so from 4 to 26 here, all of these comparing their dominant, non-dominant hands for each individual. This is a meaningless graph. What we want to do is take the average of the dominant hands and the average of the non-dominant hands and compare those averages. So if you get a graph that looks like this is wrong. You're graphing the raw values. You do not want to do this. You want to graph the averages. So how do we do that? Well, go to the cell directly below the column for which you want the average. Click and drag so that you highlight all of this, and then go to formulas, insert function, average, boom, hit OK. There's your average. Look at that. Now here's a little trick I'll show you. If I grab the corner of this, see how my cursor here turns into a little black X? If I get the corner of this and drag it over, it will automatically copy that average formula into the cell next to it so that we don't have to go through the whole process of clicking through the menus again, which is very nice. Now we have our mean for our dominant, which is 32.7. I just rounded that for the record. And this is 29.7. Now you can probably see that the dominant hand is slightly stronger than the non-dominant hand. These are in kilograms of force. So how many, kilograms worth of force of pressure can you put on the grip strength, the dynamometer, right? Okay, so there's our averages, okay? But we need error bars on this representing plus or minus the standard deviation. So now I will delete these two averages, okay? Because we've already got them written down over here. And I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with the average. Go to formulas again. Yep. Insert and now select standard deviation. If you haven't used Excel before, these functions, these formulas will be in alphabetical order. So you may need to scroll down to find standard deviation next to sum. Okay. Mine's at the top because it always puts the ones you use most often at the top of the list. So there's my standard deviation. I click OK, and there we go. And then we'll do our same little trick, our little black cross, drag and drop, boom. So our standard deviation here is 8, and our standard deviation here is 7.8. And remember, standard deviation gives us an idea of how variable the measurements are. So with this value here, standard deviation is saying that the strength of the dominant hand tends to be more variable across people than the strength of the non-dominant hand, although 0.2 is probably negligible, and I wouldn't even call it a difference, to be honest with you. But now here's the cool thing. You have what you need now to generate a graph. So let's do that. I'm going to delete these two standard deviations here. Boom. Okay. So now here's the cool thing. When you go to make your graph, grab these titles, because the titles will be put on your bars automatically, which is great when we make it. Then grab just the means. Don't grab the standard deviations. We're going to use those in a bit. So to generate our graph, this will just be 2 bars in a bar graph. It's going to be very simple when we look at it. So go to Insert, select Bar Chart. Look at that. Very simple. Okay. Now you'll notice Excel does this thing where it wants to accentuate the difference between these two averages. And really there's not a huge difference between what is essentially 33 and 30, right? But it sets the y-axis at 28. And normally I would go and show you how to set this to 0, but it turns out once we put the error bars on here, Excel will automatically fix this and turn the bottom of the y-axis into 0. So let's do that. Go to the plus sign on the side of your chart, okay? Now, if you have the 365 not full version, you will not be able to do this part. So you're gonna wanna just listen here, and then once we get to me showing you how to use the website to input these values, you'll see what you need to do there. So for those of you who have a full version of Excel, add elements, and obviously you want to add error bars, okay? Now here's the thing. It's going to give you the option to put standard deviation in here, but it's wrong, okay? See where those two are? See how they're offset and they're weird? And in addition, they don't represent the actual standard deviations. So you want to click More Options, and a little thing will come out here. You want custom error bars. So click on custom, and you want to specify your own values, okay? Now we have a little pop-up graphical user interface here, this little window. What it's asking you is, what do you want the plus to be? And then the bottom one is, what do you want the minus to be? And we want them both to be the standard deviation, because the standard deviation is plus or minus from the mean, right? So rather than have this in here, delete what's in this box and then highlight your standard deviations. Beautiful. Done. Now go down here, delete this, and then select your standard deviation again. Okay, so this is the plus the standard deviation, this is the minus the standard deviation. Then hit OK, and look at that. Excel automatically set your y-axis to 0, okay? And it also used the 8 for the dominant and the 7.8 for the non-dominant, okay? And that's how you want to do that. Okay, now if you want a title here would be maybe grip strength versus hand dominance. Notice that the x-axis already has your bars labeled because you highlighted the labels when you highlighted your means, right? Okay, now if we want to add axes titles, we can put in here, delete what's in there, grip strength, oh, helps me spell it right, in kilograms. Okay, and I spell all that right, great. And then this could be hand dominance if you want, or you can just, I'm just going to delete this. Okay, so here's, boom, beautiful. Look at that. You got your y-axis label, dead easy. You got your title on the graph. You've got your proper standard deviation error bars, all is well. So there's your graph. Okay. Now, if your graph doesn't allow you to add error bars because you don't have the full version of Excel, you're just using LCC's free version, we have to do something else. And I'm going to have to plug these values into this free web tool. And I'll make sure there's a link to this in the instructions, okay? So that you'll have them. Maybe I'll try to use YouTube to add a link in my video. I'm not really sure how to do that, but I'll try it. Okay, so here I'm going to stop the share on my screen here. And now I'm going to share my web browser with you. Okay, so let's go to here. Okay, so I did a lot of searching around the web the last few semesters trying to find a fairly intuitive or easy to use bar chart maker that will allow for error bars, etc. And this one here, metachart.com, is the best one I could find. And I'll put a link to this. There'll be a link to this available in the folder for Lab 7. Okay. All right. So you don't want to click on any of these stupid start things here. This is all going to download nonsense software you don't want. Okay. Everything you need is already on the website. Ignore this stuff. So first, you want to look at the design. We want a bar chart. We want it vertical. We don't want 3D because it's just stupid to look at. So leave it as normal, vertical. That's great. Now click to the data tab. And this is where you're going to enter your averages. Okay. And we're going to have two of them, right? Because we have dominant hand and non-dominant hand. So let's do this here. Dominant. Here's the name. And this is non-dominant. Okay. And we can leave these colors, but you can change these if you want. You can make these the same color. You could make them different colors from the green and the red if you like. It's up to you. And now we type in our values, and I'm going to grab those values from my Excel spreadsheet, which were 32.7 and 29.7. Okay. 32.7. 29.7. Now here's the wrinkle. In order to get error bars, we got to click this to go to advanced on. And this will allow us to put an error in here, right? And in this one, we know it was 8. And in this one, we knew it was 7.8. These are the values you calculated from your Excel spreadsheet. Okay. Now let's look at our labels. Okay. Graph title. Grip. Now remember, I went from data to labels up here. Grip strength versus hand dominance. Okay. Units here are going to be in kilograms. Okay. X-axis we don't care about. Y-axis label is going to be grip strength. Okay. All right, so let's display it and see what it looks like. Look at that. We've got our title, we've got our axis labels, and we've got our bars. And this actually puts the actual values here. But it's great. Now you download it. Okay, and once you download it, you have it as an image file, a .png file that can be, if you want to make further, like you want to add figure 1 to it, you can drop it into Paint. So you can open the PNG in Paint, add your figure label, right? Or you can just add it in Word. That's fine too. And then you'll be able to paste this directly into your document. Okay. That's it. That's all there is to it. Okay. Now here's the thing. Everything I just showed you goes also for your semester investigation report, right? This is heart rate, on the y-axis, or blood pressure or mean arterial pressure on the y-axis. And this is, and I'm going to use the example, even though you're not supposed to use caffeine, before caffeine, after caffeine, whatever you want to do here, that's the idea, okay? So you should have graphs that look just like this in your grip strength lab, and certainly also in your semester investigation lab. So there's a nice tutorial on how to use custom error bars, generate a graph in Excel, and then if you can't do error bars in your version of Excel, how to use this web tool to get you error bars on your graphs. Okay. So hopefully that gets you where you need to be. Nice, instructive video for you. Good luck on getting it done. I hope that this helps a lot and you get a little bit better at using spreadsheet programs like Excel.